I'm ready. Hey everybody, let's have a quick little talk really quick on mobility and motor control. So mobility is a big thing that comes up all the time, and working on being able to get into good positions, whether it's overhead or squatting to a good depth, being able to flex the ankles, things like that. So mobility is a really big point lately. What we don't want to miss, though, is the motor control that goes with it. There's a few people who bring up the point occasionally, but I want to put a little emphasis more on the motor control aspect of it, meaning that it's great to work on mobility and be able to move through a better range of motion, but you want to be able to actually control yourself through that range of motion. So if you end up doing it, let's say for a squat, for example, if I'm lacking mobility like in my hips for a squat, if I do that just before I squat every day, well, not every day, if I just do it before I squat, which might be 2, maybe 3 times a week, and I try and do it under heavier loads, there's a little bit of range of motion kind of that I'm probably missing, but it's more so just like I'm suddenly throwing my nervous system into the fire, really. So there's this little bit of end range of motion where if I could only get to parallel and now I'm going a little bit below parallel, suddenly there's that little bit where I haven't built a connection between my mind and those muscles and being able to actually, create force in that last little bit of range that I had just created. So when someone has a specific mobility issue that they're working on, say it's the hip, if it's in the shoulder and the chest, I usually will tell people to find 1 or 2 things to do and to do them every day. So for me, I do couch stretch every day, and I might work on the outside of my hip. So I do that every day with a test, retest, and doing simply like some air squats to begin with. So my retest afterwards, and I'm doing that. Basically now I'm starting to build mentally that range of motion. So now my mind is connecting that it can actually move all the way through. So the big gains that people see in the beginning when they're first an untrained athlete, what they're really seeing is that their mind is starting to build a connection to the muscles into the movement pattern that you're trying to use. So for a squat, people see big increases, not because they've suddenly put on in the first couple months a ton of muscle mass. It's not that. It's literally they haven't done that movement pattern before, and suddenly I'm able to do it. It's like being more and more efficient at throwing a baseball. People throw it further and further when they're first learning it, simply because they're actually being able to do the motion. That's it. They don't have, the ability to generate more force necessarily. They're just able to put the power that they have into a more efficient move. So what we're looking for is working on mobility, but doing that consistently every day and doing that movement every single day. That way I become more comfortable doing it. The squat is the one that people have to work on the most, so it's a good example. Let's say it's my shoulders. I struggle to get overhead. Usually I would smash my lats, and then I might do like an external rotation, that PVC stretch, or I might smash my pec. So I would pick 2 of those 3 things, if not all 3 of them if I have the time. But usually I like to spend about a minute doing each. So if I'm doing each side and I do 2 things, that's 4 minutes, 4 to 6 minutes, before I do a workout. Okay, hit those areas, I would test beforehand what I would do, and then simply doing some presses overhead to simply, cool, this is what that end range feels like. Spend some time feeling it. All right, this feels strong and stable. That's what I want. Do it with a small weight or even simply a PVC pipe to press overhead. Okay, all I'm doing is I'm getting comfortable in this range of motion, and then as I do it every day, then my strength training becomes a little bit easier. Plus, then I just actually, by doing it every day, I become more mobile, and I'm consistently more mobile. So I'm used to being in that range of motion. So just wanted to quickly touch on that, guys. Any questions, comments, concerns, please let me know. As always, live, live, love.
Hey guys. Oh, God damn it, Drew.